guys, Renata Sandor here from MeetAdvisors.com, and I'm joined with Rakic, co-founder of OpenAirplane. How are you?
I'm great. It's an amazing week for us.
Good. Well, you could tell me a little bit about that later. But first, I want to ask you to give us a little background on who you are.
Okay. I'm Rakic. I'm the co-founder of OpenAirplane. I'm like everyone else out there trying to build something that makes the world a little better. So I'm a pilot. I've been flying airplanes since I was 16. It's a really tight-knit community, and me and my co-founder and the team sort of coalesced around the idea that everyone's pilot certificate could become more valuable. That's really the idea that started us down this path.
So what is OpenAirplane?
Good question. So OpenAirplane makes renting an airplane as easy as renting a car.
Okay.
What we've done is we've created a network of flight schools, flying clubs, and aircraft owners around the country that help pilots get access to more airplanes so that pilots can get more value out of having a pilot certificate, travel, fly on business, fly for fun, really, experience adventures that they otherwise probably wouldn't do because the old way of flying airplanes was, kind of a pain in the butt.
So how do they do it? Is it an app? Do they go online and kind of be like, this is where I want to fly? How do they know what airport even offers this service? So how does it work?
Sure. You pointed out the problem that a lot of pilots had was that we did a survey in 2011 of pilots all over the United States, and it really drove some of our thinking on how to solve the problem. 28% of the time they told us that the reason they didn't fly away from like their home base, their home airport, was that as soon as they went somewhere else, it was really hard to find airplanes. You were Google searching, it was like 45 minutes of like phone calls and emails and voicemails, and it was just this really broken process. And being a pilot, I experienced that too, and so it was frustrating, and the survey sort of validated a lot of our thinking that, if I'm having this problem, maybe lots of other people are having that problem too, and that really drove sort of the solution. So now you can go to OpenAirplane.com, you sign up, it's free, and then use our tool to find aircraft that are available. We have this handy search function, and it shows you where all the airplanes are on the map, ratings, reviews of those airplanes, all the detailed information that a pilot needs to be able to select what airplane they want to fly, and then they can book that aircraft using our tool. So when they show up to the airport, now it becomes like magic. They just show up, someone hands them the keys and the clipboard, walks them out to the plane.
Wow. So do you see, hold on. I had a really good question.
Editing is great.
Darn it. Oh my goodness, what was it? It was so good. Oh, I remember. All right.
Sync.
So do you see these pilots renting airplanes from, let's say, a big airport such as O'Hare or Midway? Or do you see them do you see more availability in smaller airports?
It's actually all over the map. One of the things the pilots know that like everyone else doesn't necessarily understand and why being a pilot is cool is that there are only about 300 airports around the United States that you can buy an airline ticket to. But there are over 5,500 airports, public use airports around the country that everyone else can fly to if you can fly privately, right? So suddenly you have a lot more access to a lot more places, right? We're seeing in our network in the 75 locations that we've got this really broad mix from tiny little airports with just one runway and no control tower, a couple of hangars, just kind of out in a cornfield somewhere. But hey, if that's near your client's office, that's a fabulous place to go, right? On the other hand, we have airports that are large, towered airports, international airports. We have aircraft in places like Miami, Florida, on Oahu, in Hawaii, even up in Alaska. And so we've got all these great places you can visit and fly from.
So how are you getting the word out there? Are you reaching out to pilots and being like, hey, use our services? Are you reaching out to airports and be like, hey, promote our services so pilots can use them?
Sure.
How do you do that?
So Our business is a classic example of a two-sided marketplace, and those are tough. We have to promote ourselves to this community of pilots. There are about 600,000 pilots in the United States that are flying, that are active. So that's absolutely our core target market. But we also have to promote ourselves to the people who have airplanes and get the word out to them that we have this way to help you get more flight hours on your airplane and get better utilization of your fleet and have better renters coming to you, safer pilots, more conscientious pilots, the kind of people you want to hand the keys to your airplane to. And so we're constantly promoting ourselves to both of those communities. A lot of overlap, of course, but we know that the more airports we launch, the more pilots want to fly with us. The number one piece of feedback we get about the company is, when will you be in my hometown?
So, what are some of the challenges that you've seen growing this business and this company?
Well, so aviation isn't the most high-tech business in the world, right? You go to a lot of flight schools today, you see them doing business the way they did in business in the 1950s. Some of them you'll see the same furniture. It's really just an old school business to a large extent. And what we're doing is we're offering new tools and sort of the best practices from other places in the industry. For instance, everything we do with OpenAirplane in terms of training and safety is all ripped from how military aviation and commercial aviation works, but we're offering it to private pilots so that they can have a higher standard of safety and they can fly with more confidence and they can just get more value out of flying. And we know that that works. But that's a different way of doing business for a lot of folks, and some of these businesses just have trouble getting around the idea that there's a better way to do this. And so what we're doing is we're demonstrating it every day. We're flying more and more every month. We've got more and more locations coming online, more pilots flying with us, creating more flight hours, more revenue. People like revenue. So we're really beyond the point now, and we try to get there as quickly as we could, of talking about what we want to do and in fact just demonstrating the value of what we're doing.
And what do you feel like is one of the accomplishments you've had thus far since starting the company?
You know, every month I look back and surprise myself at some of the things we've managed to do. The thing that really inspires me the most is just how people are using what we designed. So people like the software, but they like the experience. Being able to book a airplane rental online instead of spending 45 minutes in Google and phone calls and all that. People really like that. They really like then the experience of showing up to the airport, being handed the keys and the clipboard, and then going off on an adventure. We just last week had someone post a video of him taking his dad flying for the very first time. They rented an airplane in Miami and flew down to the Keys. And he did the whole thing with a GoPro stuck to his head. So the video was amazing.
I bet. And so kind of moving away from the company and more onto you.
Okay.
Why did you choose to become an entrepreneur? Why did you start this business?
So it kind of chose me.
Okay.
I didn't really start with the idea of starting another company. We started with the idea that we could make what we love doing better. And a little bit of that old idea of like you're scratching your own itch. So everyone in the company is a pilot. We all ran airplanes. It was always sort of a frustrating experience. And we said, what if we could make the user experience of aviation better? If we could get more pilots to fly more, just a little more. If a lot of pilots flew just a little bit more, that could have a really positive effect on the industry and on the community. So it meant that pilots would be safer. They would be getting more value out of flying, so they probably wouldn't quit. If we have more pilots flying, that means they're keeping the whole economy more healthy. And so that's what we started with. We started with this idea of, can we make everyone's pilot certificate more valuable? Because we have pilot certificates and we care about that. And then it was a process that sort of happened over time to get us to the point where we realized the best way to do that was to start a company. But we really didn't start with that idea.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping things up, I want to ask you, What is that one piece of advice that you would give to our community of entrepreneurs on Meet Advisors?
I just want to sort of take the moment to let people know that it's okay to try and to start and to find a solution and get it out there, and it's not going to be perfect. But I definitely, being someone who spent a lot of time in sort of corporate America and working for other people, and have felt this pressure to be perfect before you take something to market. And there's an old saying that if your first version doesn't make you embarrassed, you should probably have launched a long time ago. And we think that even in highly regulated markets, and when everyone's telling you that nothing can change, you can go out there and change it. And but you have to go start. So I'm not the first person to say that to entrepreneurs. I'll definitely not be the last person. But in my case, we went out there and we just started, and we built something. People liked it. We kept doing it, and eventually we got a lot of people who are getting some value out of what we've done, and it makes me feel good.
Great. And where can people find out more about you? What's your website? Where can they go sign up to rent an airplane?
Okay, so if you're a pilot or you know a pilot, go to OpenAirplane.com. You can find us there on the web, also on Twitter, Facebook. Our Instagram is pretty inspiring. And you can reach out to us anytime.
And after this, we're going flying, right?
You bet.
Well, for more videos and blogs, please check out meetadvisors.com. Thank you.